This is Gary from Pickleball Travel, the travel agency for pickleball players. And I have Elena here. And Elena, I've known you for a little while now.
Yeah.
We have done some shows, and we were just in PickleCon this last August and last year as well. I think you're a terrific, dynamic person who is a lawyer. You have all those skills of communication, and you've developed this Recreational Pickleball Players Association, which is a really good site. And the reason it applies to pickleball and travel is that it's a really good place to stay connected with players. You meet while traveling or at clinics, retreats, and cruises. And you also have a site for booking different types of trips. Of course, I book trips to resorts and cruises and places around the world. And you also have an alternative to that as well. So we have Elena here. And could you tell us about the Recreational Pickleball Players Association?
Sure. Hi, thanks for having me. So yeah, the whole point of it was to have a social network for pickleball. So I started playing about 5 years ago, and I got hurt and went online and just wanted to, chat about pickleball. And all of the apps and all of the newsletters seemed to be about the pros and tournaments. And I thought, well, okay, I don't really play tournaments and I don't really care about the pros. So I started a newsletter called The Fit Pickler. And it's really about staying fit because it was a real bummer to get hurt and not be able to play. And it grew to 10,000 subscribers in like 4 months. It was crazy. And when I reached out and said, hey, I like me. I'm glad you like me, but why? And they're like, you're the only one talking to rec players. And the more I explored, the more I realized that unless we wanted to have tournament partners and go to tournaments together, there wasn't a lot of matchmaking. There wasn't a lot of places we could, gather online other than Facebook groups and 600-person WhatsApp groups, which drive all of us crazy. And so I made basically the social network for pickleball. So you create a profile on it and you can message other people. And so the idea behind the travel is a lot of people are, as you know, because you do yours very well, are taking these great trips where they're combining their vacation with pickleball. And sometimes it's because they want to go to a great place that has like amazing pickleball courts, but more often than not, they want to go to a real vacation destination, but not miss out on playing pickleball all week. So, but frequently when you go on those trips, you go with your partner, you go alone, and you meet all these new people. And that's happened to me on a cruise, and we wanted to stay in touch, and half the people weren't on Facebook and the other people weren't on WhatsApp. So I made sure that with my app for both sides of the equation, people can stay in touch on the app itself. And then you can create different groups. So I have a group for like the Cabo trip that we went on, or a group for the cruise that we went on. And then we can have, conversations with each other that don't have to deal with the creepy Facebook algorithm or all the crazy politics. And we just chit chat. And the good thing for the entertainment provider, the cruise provider or the travel provider like you is you'd have a way to communicate with people while you're on the cruise. And you would also be able to offer them the ability to talk with each other. So the next time they're thinking of a cruise or a trip or a travel or anything, they're like, oh, let's call that Gary guy again. That was fun.
Yeah, exactly. And I like the idea of having an app that everybody can kind of turn to within their group, as opposed to WhatsApp and Facebook and the different types of social media that I have implemented with my trips, where some people say, well, I'm not going to do Facebook because of the things that you're talking about with privacy, different things, or I don't do WhatsApp. What is WhatsApp? I'm not going to get another app, all these type of things. I end up having these trips where we have communication in a bunch of separate ways, but it sounds like with the app that you could have a group where everybody's on the same page and they're all pickleball players, right? So for instance,
they're all players.
If you're on a cruise or if you're at a resort, you can join the Facebook group and you can talk to people who are at the resort, but they're not necessarily pickleball players. Whereas if you're on a cruise or if you're on a resort and you're in the app, you not only have the expertise of the other travelers with regard to the resort, but you also have the fact that they are pickleball players. Maybe they want to play at a certain time. Maybe they want to talk about coaching or what have you, to have a central app where, especially for you, since you have so many connections and have developed this in a grand way, that people can go to this one spot.
Yeah. Yeah. And for the organizer. So one of the things that I found, one of the organizers I work with, she hosts some clinics and retreats, right? And so she would put something like, okay, the time of lunch would change, or the place, the room would change in the hotel. And she would put it in the Facebook group. And then somebody else would put, did you see that shot that Mary did this morning? Did you do this? Oh my God, what a beautiful sun. And then everyone would be like, what time is lunch? Where are we? So she can create 2 groups, and one can be a broadcast group. And there's no crosstalk. It's just, hey, lunch is here. And then the second group, y'all can chit chat about whatever. And then internally, each of the other individuals can create groups. And I've seen this on other apps for tournaments where you're trying to find a tournament partner and all this. But the beauty of our group is you can totally do that. You can have a group of your friends. Like there's a group in my city where a bunch of people, they don't have the same partners. They just hear about a tournament they want to do. Maybe it's for charity. And so a bunch of people got together. They're all women. It happens. And they said, anybody want to do this charity event with me? So it's not a formal, oh, we have a third, click on this and take this spot and be our fourth. It's just a chit chat. But what we can do is we can do things that have nothing to do with pickleball. So you can have a group that's for a potluck. You could have a group that's for your movie night or your book club or all the things that you do, separate and apart that keeps your pickleball community strong when you're not on the court. And then sometimes there's days that go by, right? In LA, we don't have a lot of indoor courts because it's much more profitable to build a parking lot, quite frankly, if you're an investor.
For the time being, until we're all driving self-driving cars, yeah.
That's true. That's true. But so we don't. I've played indoors. If it weren't for like the tournament, like PickleCon, I've never played indoors at a place in California. So if it rains, we don't play. But it doesn't rain that often, right? But right now it's like 98 degrees, so we don't play either. But I've already gotten together with people for lunch, and I loathe group texts. I want a group that is, that I know if that text goes off, it's something I'm interested in. I don't want 2 people talking about something that has nothing to do with me, but we happen to see it because we're in a group text. So that was one of the reasons I created this unlimited group. So you really can have an unlimited number of groups.
Gotcha. And to have that specificity for each group would be, it talks about on your website, finally escape the 600 member WhatsApp chat. Yeah, I'm involved with several of those, and so much of that I don't care about. I want to be really, my time is valuable as everybody's is, and the type of communications that come across, I want it to pertain to me.
I literally went on the one because I'm still part of one. I have the notifications turned off, but I thought, oh, you know what? I may go down to that part because it's a little shadier where they are. And I went on to see when the nets, because it's not a permanent park, they bring their nets. And there was somebody holding a picture of their fish on vacation. And then the next 6 pictures were vacation. And I was like, okay, never mind. This is insane.
Right. You can't sort
through
it all.
But another good thing. Yeah, you get all these apps, and there's so many great apps out there for tournaments and playing and finding courts. But on my app, you can go in with your zip code if you're traveling and just type in a zip code. I tested this for Las Vegas 2 months ago, and I found a couple parks that were open, but I didn't know you never know when they say open play, if it's open play all the time, if it's a city park. And a lot of time the city websites aren't updated. So you might show up with your paddle thinking you can play, and it turns out that's not the way it is. So you can go in the directory of players and you could search. So it's really, in Vegas, there was a lot. I mean, in some of those smaller towns, we're not there yet, but we'll get there. And I just randomly picked on a person who seemed to live very close to the park. And I said, hey, don't want to bug you, but I'm traveling. And I didn't tell her I was the founder of the app. I just said, this is, I'm traveling and, wondering if this is a good place to play. And she goes, oh my God. She's like, what's your level? And I'm like, at the time I was like, I'm about a 3.2, something 3.4, depending on the day of the week. And she says, we just rented an hour at a club, a pickle club or something. And she's like, be our 4th. Now, how cool would that have been? It wasn't in my schedule, but my goodness. But she was able to tell me about the park, and I did wind up going on the right time and having a good time. But how cool was that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, to have that extra connection where you're not having to develop the groups and the play where that just is automatically there. It's huge.
Yeah.
And so have you found that the site has grown? Have people taken to the site and the brand?
Yeah. So we started as the website, and we just launched the app like April or May. I mean, we just changed the user face and everybody's over the moon about that because now everything is on the homepage, and you can just see, hey, this is where I go to find players. This is where I go to see what deals. We have the only pickleball vendor direct to consumer directory online. So you can shop for all things pickleball. You don't even have to go to Amazon to buy something if you know a pickleball player, because you just go there and it's like, oh, there's gear, there's apparel, there's travel, there's this, there's that, and all these different categories. Or you could search by a vendor you like, but then right on the homepage, it's deals and discounts. So it's like going to that part of the store that you like to go and going to their discount section and just press it and see what's on sale. But anyway, yeah, so we've grown really quickly. We have now 6,000 members. And the app has been up less than 2 months. And we really haven't been putting much money into the advertising because we've been putting all the money into the development. But now that the development is done and we're getting big groups to come on, like Pickleball Singles Mingles is bringing their group from the Facebook page. And they're coming. And this is something I don't think people realize. If you're involved with a Facebook page that has to do with pickleball, and let's say you're in one of the big ones. So Pickleball Single Mingle has something like 17,000. Other ones have like maybe, 100 or 200,000. The most engagement, the most views that Facebook is going to allow you to have as the owner of that page is 3%. So even though there's 17,000 members of Pickleball Single Mingle, there's 510 people that are going to see any given post. Think about that.
Right.
And because Facebook wants you to pay to boost the post. Right. So if you're in a 100,000 person group, then, you're going to maybe, 5,000 are going to see that post, which is a lot, but it's not what you think would see it when you're looking at the numbers. So our groups, again, you invite people so that they've opted in to be in your group. So everybody in the group sees what you post. And we've just added a newsfeed feature, not quite live yet, but we're going to have a newsfeed that totally, again, no creepy algorithm, no politics, super moderated in terms of be polite. We're not going to have trolls because who's going to join an app just to troll? I mean, we might have people who are rude who play pickleball, but we're not going to get the general public saying, oh, isn't it a sport like bingo is a sport? No one's going to join my app to diss pickleball for the sake of being a troll.
Right. And that's the thing about it is a lot of the ads that I do on Google and Instagram and Facebook about certain resorts or what have you, it still goes out to the general public to where I have these people saying, pickleball stinks and all this type of thing. Whereas if you're already on a pickleball platform, everybody's on the same page and everybody knows that it's not a cult. It's just what we do and we're going to do it forever,
And it's going to be fairly friendly because, your face is on there and you're going to be accountable for what you say. And if somebody has a beginner question, the other people are going to come in and answer the question. And it's kind of scary when you're just starting out. One of the things I try to do is have my app look like all your other apps, right? So that it's really easy to say, I go here, I DM this person, I make this group, I hashtag this so that it's what folks are used to. And to the people who say, I don't need another app, I say, look, you probably have Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. In the end of the day, they all do a similar function. So what I'm saying is we're not starting a new app. We're starting a movement. We're starting a movement of letting the people who grew this sport, the community, the weekend warriors, the rec players, and we of course welcome tournament players. It's a place for rec players to belong and for tournament players to come home to. Mm-hmm. But, we're not necessarily, we want to improve, we want to do great things, but at the end of the day, we love the sport because of the connection, because of being in this wonderful, amazing community.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that it's recreational pickleball players is important too, I think, because most of my clients don't really care about the pros. I associate with the pros and influencers, and I like to do all that kind of stuff too, go to PPA tournaments, play in those tournaments, and follow the pros and all this type of thing. But most people that I market to don't care about that. They want to just be a part of a group of people, the recreational people, the people that want to have fun. Maybe they hit a tournament here and there, but the idea is that it's a group of people that just wants to have fun, play pickleball on a regular basis. Here in my hometown here, most people will play 3-4 times a week and have no idea about the current rankings on the PPA tour. That's just fine. I like the PPA tour, but that's not my business. My business has more to do with those people that just like to play, they like to vacation, and they like to meet other people that like to do the same thing.
And don't be fooled. They're competitive. The number one thing they want to do is improve. So I have the RPPA, but I also have the Fit Pickler newsletter, Pickleball Deals of the Week, and I have about 25,000 members in my ecosystem. And I'm a data geek. And when I surveyed them, 57% said they play 3 or 4 times a week. And of that 57%, more than half had never played a tournament. I mean,
Right.
which, and I've played 5 years. I'm very competitive. I mean, I love playing, I don't think we can make a distinction between rec and competitive. I think, rec and tournament focused. I mean, obviously, you're going to try and hit the weaker player to win a game, right? But when you're on a court on a park, if you're, dinking on someone who's mobility impaired, that doesn't make you competitive. That makes you a jerk. Right. But if that person has a baseline game and you want to be competitive, then you play the baseline game. Right. And we take clinics, we watch YouTube videos to learn what to do. But I used to say, if you could bring $1,000 to my park where I play, there's probably 80, 100 people, and bet them to name 10 pros. And I think, 5 years ago, now they would know Anna Bright, Anna Lee, and maybe Ben Johns. And we used to joke the guy whose name rhymes with Egg McMuffin. I don't think television has progressed to the point where you watch it and you understand the speed and the beauty of this game. I think it's, or it's going too fast, or it's just focusing on one person and the shot is over here. So I'm not saying that won't change. And I think that the live, I can't imagine, I mean, the excitement of that, because you can watch, these amazing, fast, people that are so out of your league and just go, oh my gosh, but I don't sit there and watch it on television or anything. I'll watch a clip on YouTube once in a while or Facebook, but.
Yeah. And I watch it occasionally, and I'll watch the tips type of YouTube videos, as a lot of people will do for tips and that type of thing. But I would recommend, as I always tell the recreational players here in town, is that go to a PPA tournament just to see, because it is much different than watching on TV. When you see those pros and the speed that they use, it's really something to behold, and it's sort of inspirational for my game in that I know what's possible, that type of thing. Most people say, yeah, it's cool to watch, but they want to be out there. Yeah, they want to get better. They want to learn about the gear. They want to have a new paddle.
When I was at PickleCon last year, remember they had the NPL tournament. I had never seen, and this is like, I guess, the older generation. I had never seen that like live and up close. And my booth was maybe 20 feet, and I would walk over and stand behind them and see how fast that ball is coming and try and picture myself like stopping it and thinking, no, it would knock me over backwards.
Yeah, you'll stop it with something. It might not be your paddle.
It might not be my, but I mean, that's to your point. You can't experience that on TV. You just can't.
Yeah, it's really something to see. As far as your website and your brand, where do you see it going, let's say in the next 6 months? What can we look forward to?
6 months, I think now that people are understanding what it is and realizing that it's more than just another pickleball app, I think it's going to explode. And quite frankly, if it has the explosion I think it has by, say, February or March, we can expand internationally. I mean, I think it would be amazing to have a place where, the countries where it's just getting started, to have them be able to join a forum that says, how did you guys deal with this when it happened to you? And, what is the best practice for this when we open this club, or when we make this round robin at our park, or all those kind of conversations where we can keep people from, having to reinvent the wheel. We can have these discussions where, we're traveling even further and meeting more people, right? Like right now we have some folks from Canada, but it's pretty much USA based until we get a good base. And then I also, I really, really, really I'm modeling this after the Old Town Square. And I really want the vendors that are on, we have a whole group of verified vendors. I know you're one of them, where, we know you care about the players. We're making it easy for you to be seen by the players. Right? We're making it easier for the players to reap the benefit of having you on, because you're saving money by not gambling with a Facebook ad and hoping that the person that your ad plays pickleball and didn't just laugh at a pickleball meme one day, or, buy a tennis shoe or something that Facebook, thinks maybe every single person on our app is a pickleball player. So we're hoping to just create this ecosphere of, we want to know who our vendors are. We want to get in conversation. We want to be able to tell them, hey, I really like this about this, but you know what, you should change. And just have these dialogues, and we facilitate that. We also facilitate vendor to vendor interaction. We have a lot of vendors now who are finding collaboration and partnerships. And again, anything that saves these guys money saves us money. And when we get the more people we get, the more we can leverage our buying power. I mean, we just picked like a buffet. We took like the profile and the messaging of Instagram. We took the community aspect of Facebook with the feed. We took the Netflix with our training videos, and we took the Costco with our buying, and we're just kind of mushing it into this sort of pickleball social network. And so, yeah, I think once people understand what it is and the adoption and engagement goes up, there's just going to be no limit.
How does some of the other companies like Court Reserve, Playtime Scheduler, Pickleheads, how about some of these companies? How do they fit into your company?
I think the what's it called? Court Reserve? Yes. I just met with them. They're very good at organizing things within the pickleball clubs and events and helping with management. A lot of them do, helping with take money, reserve courts, do this, find partners. I think that we are a perfect complement, to be honest with you, because we bring in the social aspect and they bring in the organizational aspect. For instance, if you're a club and you have Court Reserve, okay, that's great. I'm going to give you the opportunity, if you have my app, to have an opportunity to DM every single person that's a member or that has opted in, even if they're not a member, has played there in open play and opted into your group to say, maybe you're having a particular slow day. You blast out a message saying, hey, half off courts until 5 p.m. Or you want a group to come in. You want to start making like intergenerational tournaments. So you have people opt into that group, and then you create programming for them. So you can organize the programming part on those apps, but you can organize the communal aspect of it on our app and have them stay in touch with each other. And again, you could broadcast, and then they could all chat about it and be excited about it, and then maybe create those among themselves, which gives you more revenue. And if you have an entertainment, like a chicken and pickle or something, and I'm going to have a book club anyway, and and your app is, my group is on your app, we're going to have it at your facility.
And it's the town square type of concept, which is your forte.
That's my vision.
And I can tell people that are out there that Elena is a force to be reckoned with. You are a dynamic person who has a lot going on. You have a lot of connections. You're involved with the latest AI as I am, and you're somebody that people are going to want to know. And so as we close here, are there things that you'd like to mention in closing?
Well, first off, thank you for that. And second, I really do think that a rising tide lifts all ships, and there is no pie. And, all the apps can get together, and, we can really help build the sport in a way that is good and progressive and keeps the community aspect of it while still getting people to, make their living. And we can create like this ecosphere that helps just everybody in what they're doing. I love the fact that I can go to another community now and be accepted, that someone's going to invite me to play at their court they reserved. I just think it's one silly thing, but we make that out exponentially. And I think it is a movement we're starting. So yeah. And I truly, when I meet somebody, my first thought is, what do you need? How can I help? Who can I introduce you to that's going to move the needle for your life, your business? This is a lot of people's livelihoods. Think about this. Like, there's a lot of older people that started in this sport that this is their social life, right? And that's one of the reasons when I started the newsletter, The Fit Pickler, I wanted it to be about fitness because, if you're young and you have a vibrant social life and you get hurt, you're bummed. But if you're a widow and you're in your late 70s and this is where all your friends are and you get hurt, you have no social life for the next however long it takes to heal.
Mm-hmm.
Great example at our park of a fellow who's well in his 80s, and he was a tennis pro, and I've known him for 5 years now, and he can't really move around much at all. He's in a walker, but he comes every Saturday morning, and if there's an open court, he'll work on his top spin with you. You just got to hit it to him in the wheelchair, and I'll tell you what, you'll learn a lot. What other sport does that? I'm a total evangelist for it. So
yeah, it can be done. It's actually possible with all these type of injuries and wheelchairs and who knows, crutches or whatever. The fact that you don't need that much space to move around on the court because it's a smaller court and there's another person there is so nice to see all these people that, including myself, I have a tennis elbow thing that I'm working on. So I use my other hand and my partner kind of covers me and this type of thing. It's just awesome to know that whether you're 10 years old or 80 years old or you have all different types of problems, that it works out great. So yeah. And as far as the fitness part of it, it's so nice to integrate pickleball into the places that I book, like the resorts and Sandals and Club Med and these type of places, because you're going to be picking out anyway at the, especially restaurants and stuff. And the fact that I'm able to get a little fitness in the morning, get that metabolism going, is such a sweet combination that works out so well.
Even if you don't lose weight, you certainly have less guilt about what you ate.
Yeah, exactly. At least you have that excuse, and exactly the fact that you talked about that it's where people get their exercise and their fitness, it makes it so nice, because as long as you don't backpedal and hit your head, that type
and
of thing.
Mental health and, and just relations with people, getting along and working out problems and, last minute decisions and reflexes. And I mean, there's just so many benefits.
Yeah. And for people that have mental illness, that's something I'm going to work on too, since that was a field that I worked at, and it can be so helpful for your state of mind. So I'm going to be looking to integrate that into the places I go, whether they be the state mental hospitals or different places like that. It can be so important. So yeah, this is Gary from Pickleball Travel, and I will have the link in the YouTube video for Elena and all those type of things. Like and subscribe to this video. And how could they find you again, Elena?
It's just rppa.org.